You put $200 into your savings account last month. You felt good about it for like maybe 48 hours. Then your car insurance went up by $30 a month, your grocery bill somehow jumped another 40 bucks, your rent increased $150, and now you're sitting there looking at that $200 thinking, what was even the point? Here's the thing. You're not crazy, and you're not bad with money. Something fundamental has shifted in how saving money actually works in 2026. And if you're still following the advice your parents gave you, or honestly, even the advice financial gurus were giving 5 years ago, you're playing a game that the rules have completely changed on. My name is Thomas, and I spend way too much time thinking about why traditional savings advice has completely fallen apart for an entire generation. If you're someone who's doing everything right, you're budgeting, you're cutting back on coffee, you're putting money aside, but you still feel like you're getting nowhere, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're going to break down exactly why saving money feels useless now, what's actually happening with your money that nobody's talking about, and most importantly, what actually matters if you want to build wealth in 2026 and beyond. The broken promise. So let's start with the uncomfortable truth. The traditional advice was save 10–20% of your income, put it in a savings account, watch it grow, and you'll be financially secure, right? Look, that advice worked. It worked really well in 1985. It worked in 1995. It even kind of worked in 2010. But here's what most people don't realize. The entire mathematical foundation that made that advice work has completely eroded. Let me show you what I mean with actual numbers, because this is where it gets really frustrating. In 1990, the average savings account interest rate was around 4 to 5%. Meanwhile, inflation was averaging about 4.2% per year, so you were basically breaking even, maybe slightly ahead. But here's the key. Wages were also growing at about 3 to 4% annually, and housing costs were roughly 3 times the median annual income. Fast forward to today. Right now, in 2026, if you're getting 4% on a high-yield savings account, you're doing pretty well. But inflation? The official number might say 3.4%, but let's be real about what you're actually experiencing. Rent is up 30% since 2020 in most major cities. Groceries are up 25 to 30%. Car insurance is up an average of 26% just in the past year. Your real lived inflation is probably closer to 6 to 8% on the things you actually spend money on. So here's the math. You save $10,000. You get 4% interest. That's $400. But your actual purchasing power declined by 7%. That's a loss of $700. You earned $400 but lost $700 in real terms. Net effect? You're $300 poorer than when you started, even though your account balance went up. This is why saving feels useless, because mathematically, in terms of what that money can actually do for you, it kind of is. The deeper problem. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Thomas, but isn't some savings better than no savings? Shouldn't I still save something? And look, yes, obviously. But here's what frustrates me about how this conversation usually goes. We're so busy telling people to save that we're not being honest about what's actually happening to their money, and more importantly, what they should actually be doing instead. Because here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. For most people, especially if you're making under $75,000 a year, obsessing over saving is actually distracting you from what actually matters. Let me explain. There's this concept in economics called opportunity cost, what you give up when you make a choice. And when you're laser focused on putting $200 a month into a savings account that's losing real value, you're potentially missing opportunities that would actually change your financial situation. Here's a real scenario. You have $2,400 saved up. You're proud of it. You keep it in your savings account, earning 4%. Over the course of a year, you earn about $96 in interest, but you lose maybe $168 in purchasing power. Net loss, $72. But what if you had taken that $2,400 and used it to take a certification course that would increase your salary by $5,000 a year, or invested it in equipment to start a side business that generates an extra $500 a month? Or even just paid off a credit card that was charging you 22% interest, saving you $528 a year. This is where it gets really interesting, because we've been so conditioned to think that saving is good and spending is bad that we've forgotten to ask the more important question, saving for what? And is that the best use of this money right now? The psychology trap. Here's what's really going on psychologically. And this is important to understand because it affects every financial decision you make. Saving money gives us an immediate psychological reward. You see the number in your account go up, you feel like you're being responsible, you feel like you're making progress. It's tangible, it's measurable. You can look at it every day. But building real wealth, that's slow, it's uncertain. It requires taking calculated risks. It means investing in yourself or in assets that might not show immediate returns. There's no dopamine hit from doing something today that might pay off in 3 years. So we default to saving because it feels safe and it feels like progress, even when the math tells us it's not actually getting us where we want to go. There's actually a term for this in behavioral economics. It's called action bias. We feel better taking an action that feels productive, even if it's not the optimal action, rather than doing something that feels riskier or less concrete, even if it would actually serve us better. And the financial industry? Oh, they love this, because keeping your money in a savings account is incredibly profitable for banks. They pay you 4%, they lend it out at 8 to 20%, they pocket the difference. They have zero incentive to tell you that you're slowly losing purchasing power. What actually matters? Okay, so if traditional saving isn't the answer, what is? What actually matters in 2026 if you want to build wealth? Here's my framework, and I want you to really think about this because it's different from what you've been told. First, increase your income potential before you focus on saving. Look, I know everyone's tired of hearing just make more money, but hear me out. If you're making $45,000 a year and you manage to save 10%, that's $4,500. Great. But if you invest 6 months and $3,000 into learning a high-income skill and you increase your salary to $60,000, you just added $15,000 a year to your income. Forever. The math is obvious, but here's why people don't do it. It requires spending money now for a benefit later, and it requires effort and uncertainty. Saving feels safer, but safer isn't always smarter. Second, build an emergency buffer, not a savings goal. You need liquid cash for emergencies, absolutely. But here's the difference. You need enough to handle an emergency, not some arbitrary goal like 6 months of expenses that might take you 5 years to save up while inflation eats it away. For most people, $2,000 to $3,000 covers 90% of emergencies. A car repair, a medical bill, a temporary job loss where you need a cushion while unemployment kicks in. Get to that number as fast as you can, then stop. Don't keep piling money into savings just to watch it lose value. Third, invest in assets that outpace inflation. And here's where we need to have an honest conversation. Your money needs to work harder than inflation, period. That means low-cost index funds that historically return 8 to 10% annually, real estate if you can access it, even fractional shares through REITs, investing in yourself, education, skills, certifications, business. Even paying off high-interest debt is a guaranteed return of whatever interest rate you're avoiding. Now, you might be thinking, but Thomas, isn't investing risky? What if the market crashes? Here's the thing. Yes, there's risk in investing, but you know what's a guaranteed loss? Keeping money in savings while inflation eats it away. That's a 100% chance of losing purchasing power. So the question isn't, should I take risk? Because you're already taking risk by doing nothing. The question is, which risk makes more mathematical sense? Fourth, optimize for flexibility, not just security. This is huge, and most financial advice completely misses this. In 2026, the economy changes fast, jobs change fast, industries change fast. Having $50,000 in a savings account sounds secure, but if you lose your job and it takes you 6 months to find another one because your skills are outdated, that security doesn't mean much. But if you've invested in skills, built multiple income streams, created a network, developed expertise that's valuable, that flexibility is worth more than money in the bank, because it's your ability to generate money regardless of what happens. Let me give you 2 real scenarios to illustrate this. Scenario A. Sarah makes $50,000 a year. She saves $400 a month religiously. After 3 years, she has $14,400 saved. With 4% interest and 7% real inflation, her purchasing power is actually less than if she had saved $12,000. She still has the same job, the same income, the same prospects. Scenario B, Marcus makes $50,000 a year. He saves up $3,000 for emergencies, then spends $4,000 on a coding boot camp. 6 months later, he gets a job making $70,000. He uses $500 a month from his increased income to invest in index funds. After 3 years, he's making $75,000. He has about $18,000 invested, which has grown to maybe $21,000 with market returns. And more importantly, his income trajectory has completely changed. Both started at the same place. Both had the same amount of money available. Completely different outcomes. Which one are you? All right, so here's what you actually do. Here's the framework. Step 1. Get to $2,000 to $3,000 in emergency savings as fast as possible. Cut expenses, work overtime, sell stuff, whatever it takes. This is your foundation. Step 2, if you have high-interest debt, anything over 7–8%, attack that next. This is a guaranteed return. Step 3, invest in your income. What skill, certification, course, or credential would meaningfully increase your earning potential? Research this carefully, but then do it. Don't wait. And once you're making more, set up automatic investing. Start with whatever you can, even $50 a month into a target date retirement fund or S&P 500 index fund. The key is consistency and letting compound growth do its work. Step 5, continuously optimize. Every 6 months, look at your income, your expenses, your investments. Are you making progress in real terms? Is your income growing faster than inflation? Is your net worth actually increasing in purchasing power, not just in nominal dollars? Here's what I need you to understand. The game has changed. We're not in an era where you can save your way to wealth. We're in an era where you need to invest and grow your way to wealth. That doesn't mean be reckless. It doesn't mean YOLO all your money into cryptocurrency or day trading or whatever the latest trend is. It means being strategic, being intentional, and understanding that money sitting still is money losing value. Your parents' advice to save came from a time when that advice worked, but we're not in that time anymore. The economy is different. The job market is different. The relationship between income, expenses, and wealth building is different. And look, I get it. It's scary to shift your mindset from save everything to invest strategically. It feels irresponsible. It feels risky. But you know what's actually risky? Following advice that mathematically doesn't work anymore and wondering why you're not getting ahead. So let me ask you this. What's the next move for you? Are you going to keep doing what you've been doing? Saving money in an account that's losing value, hoping somehow it'll work out differently than the math suggests? Or are you going to make a change? Maybe it's signing up for that course you've been eyeing. Maybe it's opening that investment account you've been putting off. Maybe it's having a serious conversation with yourself about whether your current job has any growth potential or if it's time to develop skills that are actually in demand. Whatever it is, do something that moves you forward in real terms, not just in how you feel about your bank balance. Because here's the thing, financial security in 2026 doesn't come from having a big savings account. It comes from having skills that are valuable, income that grows faster than inflation, and assets that work for you instead of against you. This stuff is learnable, it's doable, but you have to start, and you have to start with the right strategy. If this video helps shift your perspective on saving and investing, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe because I make videos every week breaking down financial concepts that actually matter for building wealth in the real economy we're living in, not the one from 30 years ago. Drop a comment and let me know what's the one financial belief you're going to challenge after watching this. I read every comment and I want to hear what resonated with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.